It being on or about 6:30, I call the May 13th, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission to order. Let's begin with a roll call vote.
Benson present.
Carol present.
Grossman present.
Ballfield's present.
All right, let's start with public hearings and possible deliberations. Our first order of business is 63 Depot Street. Notice of intent for a residential septic system. This is on the agenda, but it's my understanding that it was withdrawn because the activity is exempt. Jennifer, is that correct?
Yep.
So no action is necessary by the board. So we will turn to our next order of business, which is 561 Foundry Street. Request for determination of applicability for an existing deck.
And Ben, are you a co-host?
I hope so.
Because I can do nothing. I can't promote anybody.
Looks like I can't either.
Okay, hold on just a second. Let's see if Melissa's back.
Craig, I can see you have your hand up, just so you know what's going on our end. We're just having some technical difficulties, and we'll promote you as soon as we can.
She said she can't make you a co-host.
Okay.
That doesn't make sense because she opened the meeting.
See what I can do.
Someone invited us as panelists, so whoever did that should be able to make you the co-host, or is the co-host.
Yep, just give us a couple minutes here.
Yeah. I'm clicking furiously through settings. I'll mute myself.
Well, she made me the host, but I don't have any of those options on my phone. So
Ben, you're the co-host now.
You said I'm the co-host now?
What it says, yep.
Perfect. I was just able to promote.
good.
We can see you. Let's see if we can hear you. At first I thought we couldn't.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, I can share screen.
I see a Gary Stone with a hand up. Is that someone you'd like promoted?
Yes, please. He's the owner of the property.
Perfect. All right, we can see your screen. We're ready when you are.
Yes. Let me get down to the plan. Okay. So this is 561 Foundry Street. It's got an existing residential house, but it also has the Furnace Brook Motors here, this used auto parking lot. So the house has been there since the 1920s or earlier, and then the business has been on the property since the 1970s. Looking at going as far back as you can go and actually try to make sense of the Google Earth pictures, early 90s, you can see this existing shed here is on the property. Gary says it's been there longer. But what he did was he put this deck around the shed, which triggered a need for a building permit, as well as the need to file with conservation. We have the Beaver Brook River here, perennial stream. We have the old pond with the bank, vegetated wetland that Brad Holmes of VCR flagged up. There is a floodplain, which I added to the plan, but I might have been on a different plan floodplain runs about through the house and then over the shed.
Mhm.
There is no elevation determined at this stage of the river. Down on the other, south of Foundry Street, they have elevations. Up here, it's zone A. So to give sent Jennifer an email this afternoon. We've been trying to look into how we would get through the zoning portion of this, because we are too close to the property line. The shed is 8.5 feet off the property line, and the deck is another 5 feet closer. And after discussing it with the zoning department, the building department, it does not look like we can get a permit to keep the deck in place. So Mr. Stone has agreed to remove it. Obviously, that doesn't change the fact that he's in the buffer zones. We are 74 feet from the Beaver Brook top of bank, that inland bank that Brad had flagged up, 77 on this end. And we have total of 10 4x4 posts sitting on 10-inch concrete footings. So at this point, those would all be removed. The deck would be taken off. The shed, like I said, was pre-existing. The intention is to leave it in place. And then obviously we'd have to put the land back to the elevation that we were at when we did the location work, which was exposed gravel at the time. Mitigation for the work was shown as being plantings along the bank of the pond that Brad Holmes came up with, which was 6 black chokeberries, 6 sweet pepper bush, hand planted along the bank in the lawn area, the top of the slope, and then left to grow as natural. No mulch to be added. Conservation signs shown along where we can. The existing house is up against the bank. Conservation signs with the posts with the signs on them that you require. So do you have any questions that I can answer, or Gary can answer about anything that's on the plan? And
Yeah, so how far from the property line is the existing shed? Not including the deck.
the shed itself is 8. At the back here, we're a little bit closer, 8.0, and then the front, it's at 8.5.
Okay.
77 to the deck, so you add another 8 feet. Yeah.
Okay. So does removing the deck solve the building department's issue here?
Well, we can't get a building permit for it, so as far as the shed, it's pre-existing.
Okay.
Unless they choose to challenge that. Like I said, if you go back to the 1992, you can see a rectangle on Google Earth. It's extremely blurry, but it looks like a man-made structure in that spot. I can't say for sure that that's what it is, but so it's been there since the 1990s. Gary says since the 1980s.
No, that answers my question there. I had misunderstood the age of the shed itself. Do you have the plan that shows the flood plan? Because I have not seen that yet. Has that been uploaded?
It should have been, if you give me a second there.
Take your time.
Oh, there it is. I believe this should be it. Yes, this is it here.
Would you mind just zooming in?
Yep. So I overlaid the floodplain map from Mass Mapper. Property lines line up pretty well with their online map. 100-year floodplain comes through here, runs through the corner of the deck, the shed, I should say, and then across the deck and out to Foundry Street.
So the vast majority of the shed is outside of the 100-year.
It's inside.
Within it.
Within it. Okay.
Floodplain's over here.
Yep, that makes much more sense. All right. That's what I have for questions for now. Jennifer, do you have staff comment?
The only remaining staff comment is that the house didn't seem to have a deck on it until sometime during COVID. So that was one of the questions in the staff report, is that being added to the application, and then the commission needs to review that and make sure it meets performance standards.
I don't know if Gary can speak to when the deck was put on or not.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, very good. Sorry. The deck on the back of the house was pre-existing prior to me buying the house in 16, 15. I saw it there as a friend of Alan's in 2009, 10. That deck has been there for a long time. It was enhanced during COVID, but the deck has been pre-existing with pictures to show.
So if you have pictures, that would be really helpful, because I didn't
Yeah.
see it on an aerial photograph at all.
I can show them to you. I have pictures for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So, and members of the commission, any questions or comments?
None for me.
Right, I think that seeing some older photographs that help us understand how old what's being represented as an existing deck is would help us sort of understand the application. And assess the appropriateness of the proposed mitigation.
Yeah, I can find you some old photos and I can forward them to Jen. Not a problem.
Perfect.
It's helpful if they have the dates on them, though.
Ideally, I can try. I don't know if I have them like that, but I'm assuming that you'll recognize that they're old, and you'll see.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's been there
Thanks.
for a long time. Absolutely.
Thank you. Any public comment here for 561 Foundry Street? All right, seeing none, I'm gonna do a motion to continue this. I assume that's okay with Gary and Craig here. I think we'd like to see some existing photos just to assess the appropriateness of the mitigation for what's here.
Yep.
All right.
Fine.
Jen, when is the next meeting?
June 3rd.
Motion to
Can I start taking the deck down so I can start moving forward?
It's a good question. Jennifer, do you have a position on that?
Just removing the decking or the posts as well for right now.
Well, I can leave the posts in if you want to look at, what was, but then I just, while I have the time and the ability to start dismantling it and putting it together in a way that doesn't make it complete waste to me, maybe thinking about ways to reutilize it in some way. It's going to take some time to, take it down in a way that's consistent with being able to just not throw it all away.
I think that's fine. I think the you're more than 50 feet from the wetland buffer. It might be one of the exemptions under riverfront, but it is in the floodplain. So just leave the posts, and
Yep.
then we make sure that that's included in the permit the next time we see you.
Okay, that's fine. I'll leave them as they are. You can look at it from there. See what you need me to do.
Thank you. Motion to continue 561 Foundry Street to the June 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Grossman, aye.
Paul Fels, aye.
Spady, aye.
All right, thank you.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
All right, our next order of business, moving on to continued hearing and possible deliberations. Our next order of business is the Mass DOT Highway Division application for work from Washington Street, which is Dickerman Road, to Elm Street. The state has requested a continuance to the next meeting. Any comment from the commission before I do a motion? All right. Motion to continue the Washington Street, Dickerman Road to Elm Street, Mass DOT project to the June 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Crossman second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Paul Phil's eye.
Spady, aye.
Did I miss my eye? Crossman eye. Sorry.
It passed with or without you, Nate. 40 Prospects, next order of business is 40 Prospect Street. Notice of intent for floodplain alteration. And I see Azu's here, so I will promote him to a panelist.
Good evening.
Good evening, Azu. How are you?
Can't complain for a young old man.
Well said.
Yeah. Hope you're doing well too. I believe the property owner, Mr. William Hines, should be in attendance.
I will promote him to a panelist.
Is he in attendance by any chance?
He is in attendance. I believe I just promoted him to a panelist, so he should be joining us. Looks like he's up.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
How are you? My name's William. I'm the owner of 40 Prospect Street. I wanted to join to talk about the situation because it's now been creeping up on a year since I received the cease and desist order for this. I had no intention of doing any harm when I was back at a year ago working on the property. I had no idea that there was rules and laws against working on the wetlands. So I apologize for any harm I may have caused. However, it's now been a year and I feel like I can't move on with my life until I get my yard situated. Because right now I've got neighbors who are upset because of the quality of the lawn. It's raw soil right now. I've got stone dust in my driveway that was supposed to just be temporary because I was planning on paving it, which was there before. The stone dust is not holding up throughout the weather. It looks terrible. I can't plow it in the winter time. I own a small plumbing company and I try to, get my trucks in order. I try to keep my vehicles clean and do what I need to do as far as unloading and loading my trucks up in the morning and in the evening. I can't do that with the way the stone dust currently is right now. So it really is affecting my livelihood. I'm trying to move past this, and it seems like every time we come to one of these meetings, it's just about to go in my favor, and then Jennifer keeps asking for one more thing, and then it's another thing, and it's another thing, and at this point, it feels like I'm almost being picked on for it, and I don't understand what the hassle is. I've done everything we possibly can. I've spent a great amount of money. Azu has worked tirelessly to please Jennifer. She's, I know she's just doing her job, but at this point, my whole life is being turned upside down because of this property. I'm trying to get it rectified as soon as possible. I'm hoping there's something we can do today, even if it means getting rid of all the other ideas that we need to do and just paving the driveway and being able to put some loom down and some seed and grow my grass so I can have a normal yard, just like everybody else on the entire street. I've got 4 trees there, maybe 5 trees that are old and they're hanging over my house. My bedroom is up on the 2nd floor. And every time it rains or we have one of those windstorms, I fear that those trees are going to come down and kill me. It may sound foolish to some, but it happened at my mother's house in Canton a couple years ago in a bad storm we had. If my sister had been up in her bedroom, she would have been killed by a tree. So for this to be taking an entire year, it's really putting a lot of stress on me. I've done everything that's been asked of me. I've tried to do right. That's all I really have to say. I'm hoping somebody can help me out with this today, and we can get this done. And I apologize for my appearance. I'm still at work at a customer's house right now.
Understood. And
Thank you.
Thank you for coming before us and sharing that. I think Azu, we're in a situation here where we're waiting on an updated plan. And I think at the last meeting, we talked about some final additions to that plan. And I don't think that we've received it yet.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you. If I may share my screen,
Please.
am I a co-host or whatever you call that to share?
You should be able to share.
Windows. Okay, back on the 8th of April, Mr. Chairman and Commission members will file the, is this, I don't even know, share. Okay. Can you see the screen?
We can.
Okay. I'm gonna also, so back in April 8th, we came before the commission and we requested a continuation because we did not have all the relevant information in time for Jennifer to review them. And so we continued the hearing to April the 29th. If you may recall, back on the 8th, we had proposed this garage to be right in this area here. And there was a concern about, here's the flood elevation line right here, which is a gift specific elevation established by FEMA. And the commission, as well as Jan, were concerned that we were right on top of the floodplain line.
Mhm.
And it was suggested then that we should endeavor to move that building further to keep it out of the floodplain, so at least we can provide some room to work. And if you recall, that was a 30 by 30 garage. That was what was proposed. And the commission requested that we look at it. So I met with Bill, and we kept the 30 feet because you need that depth for the trucks, and then cut it down the width to 26 feet. And that's what we did. And so we came back, the hearing was continued to the 29th with a proviso that we make that a change. If you recall, on the 29th, the commission felt and asked questions. There were no other issues raised at that hearing on the 29th. And the question was, in this area here, if you will recall, the commission asked, when Jen suggested that, hey, when the commission asked the question, are there any other concerns at the time? It was, well, the commission always wanted at least some buffer zone. You want 50, but in this particular location, the 50 couldn't be achieved. And so the commission asked that this area be included as part of the buffer zone. If you recall, this fence line that we proposed came down this way, turned this way, and then come back up this way. I sent that plan to the office, in addition to specific responses to the report that Jen had prepared, along with the request for waivers. Now, keep in mind that performance standards under your local regulations sort of overlap one another in terms of jurisdiction and buffer zones. I had also explained that no matter what we do on this site, it is entirely in the riverfront. We acknowledge that. We acknowledge that the entire site obviously is in the ACEC. So the resolution at the time was, why don't you include this area as part of the area to be left as a buffer zone in perpetuity? And so my understanding at that hearing on the 29th was to go from here to flag number 15, right about here. And Jen responded with an email to me and said, no, that the commission wanted it to go to KT4, adjacent to this flag right here. And if you may recall, on the 29th, I explained, I apologize, forgive me for 1 second. I gotta turn my ovens off. I'm making dinner, sorry.
It's all right.
Actually, I like the fact that this meeting is remote, because I couldn't be making dinner if I was in person. So I revised the plan so that this went right straight to the flag here. And as you may recall, on the 29th, I explained that this whole area here, extending right into here, was the area where the original septic system leaching field was located, and it was in failure. So about 2-3 years ago, the septic system was upgraded. Now, that plan was not done by my office. That septic system was upgraded to remove that from this area. That leaching field is now at this location right here. This is the existing septic tank, and then this pump chamber, and it delivers the effluent to this soil absorption system. So on the 29th, based on the discussions with the commission, and if you may recall, these 2 trees, well, why are you removing those? I said that if botanists, I'm not a botanist, said that those 2 trees were precarious and they are not healthy, and they should be removed. And so we propose all of the trees, along with the shrub layer, as well as the herbaceous cover. So when we left on the 29th, when we left the hearing, Mr. Chairman, if you recall, your admonition and exhortation at the time was, you guys are almost there. Just that we'll address this area and come back. But albeit you did not have the full slate of the commission in attendance, you had exactly 3 that was necessary to have a hearing. And so at the end of that hearing, we left the hearing believing that the only thing that we needed to do was to revise the plan to incorporate this area as a natural buffer area. And actually the fence that we proposed, the post and rail fence that goes from here down here, was so that we can provide a permanent visual barrier so that there's no question as to the area that Mr. Hines can utilize. So that's how we left the hearing and very quickly revised the plan to address this whole area here. So I was flabbergasted, quite frankly, when towards the end of in the middle of last week, getting another correspondence from Jen detailing what we didn't do and what we're not providing. And quite frankly, I'm at my wit's end. I don't know. I didn't really know how to respond to that. Having left the meeting on the 29th, at which the 3 members were present, and Jen was present, and that was what we were instructed to do. And when I submitted the plan going from here to here, the only comment I received via email from Jen was move that line to flag number adjacent to flag number 4. Now that was the commission's wish. And that's what this plan represents. And so we are here because it seemed to me, at least from my perspective, I wouldn't speak for anybody else. When we left that meeting, there was specific understanding of where we were going. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that this plan complies with all your local regulations. It simply doesn't. That's a fact. And that's why we implore the commission to consider the waiver and to make this place a livable area where we can provide a permanent barrier to show the living area, and also install the requisite permanent conservation markers. And I put it right here in my detail, the specifications for that. So I guess my question or comment or request of the commission is, where do we go from here with that understanding that we had? Mr. Hines has expressed his remorse, and I believe it's a heartfelt remorse. And wants to make whole the best he can. I will submit to you where this is an existing site built several years ago. If this were a new application, I guarantee you I will not be representing anybody making a representation to build a new project like this, because it simply will not fly with your regulations. So what we are doing, and Mr. Hines is hoping that he can do, is make his property the livable area. And obviously, you know it, and I know it. When you talk to real estate brokers, they tell you all the things that you can do with your land. And that's what Mr. Hines relied on when he bought the property. I can assure you, having spoken with him and observed his disillusionment, that he never would have purchased this property had he been aware of all the regulatory burden and complications affecting the possible reuse of the property. And so there is nothing we can do to change the conditions of the site, to make it so that we are further away from the regulatory boundaries of the commission. I will submit, however, that under the Wetlands Protection Act, strictly under the Wetlands Protection Act, this project meets every requisite requirement, every requisite threshold for a single family notice of intent application, without a shadow of doubt. And so we are imploring the commission, recognizing that you have very, very tough and well-founded regulations and that require. I've done personally more than 300 projects in the town of Easton, whether it was for Nick Maroney or Douglas A. King or David Howe, including the work that I've done on behalf of this Conservation Commission, albeit not as it is presently constituted. we've always taken very good care to be responsive to the demands and concerns of the commission. And I have actually made a conscious effort to not deal with projects that are just not very tenable because of the regulatory burdens. And so we are praying the commission to at least honor what we understand and understood to be the path of resolution at the April 29th meeting.
Thank you, Azu. So I think what we're up against right now is understanding the mitigation plan for the site. Right. I think the plan itself has come a long way. We've certainly made some positive changes from a conservation perspective, moving the building out of the floodplain, removing some of the lawn area, as we've discussed. But I think under our regulations, we're in a position right now where our regulations require 2-to-1 mitigation. And I don't think that the commission can give you a waiver without meeting that requirement.
I'm just going to jump in there for 1 second. That's the
Please.
state law. That's not the local bylaw. You have to meet both the state law and the local bylaw.
The state law, if I may submit, please.
Please.
If you are working in a resource, we are not proposing any activity in a resource area.
Riverfront
And-
area is a resource area. Bordering land subject to flooding is a resource area. You're working in 2 resource areas, Azu.
We are outside of the floodplain. Now I give it to you that
Not for
we
the,
do
for
have.
the- sorry, not for the
I thought
garage,
you-
for the clearing for the lawn on the right side of the property closest to the stream.
That's the work that was already done. We are now in that area. We are talking restoration. So
Yeah.
we are not proposing any new work in that area. We're talking restoration. All the new work that we're proposing is the garage and the recharge area and paving of the driveway. And I actually believe, as Mr. Hines has just articulated, that paving work actually will benefit the resource, so that we don't have suspended solids, sediments traveling with runoff to the river. If it's paved, there will never be any need to do that.
Azu, can you stop
Sure.
sharing your screen, please?
Okay.
Okay. All right, can you see this? Can you see the map?
Yeah.
Is it
Yep.
big enough or do you need it to be bigger?
If you
No,
can
I'm
zoom
good.
in a little, it'd be helpful.
Okay. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, there are a couple of things happening here, right? So first, the violation needed to be addressed, and we understand that was an accident, and that's, you know, not a problem. It's taken several months to come in with a plan and a permit application to address that, and you know, that's good as well. We're glad to see it here. From what I can tell from the aerial photographs, this is the original sort of forested area and riverfront area. I'm going to go to the next screen. The yellow is the area that's in violation. And so under the state law, the restoration plan should be trees within 10 feet on center and shrubs 8 feet on center. The restoration plan was not, the planting plan was not on the plans until recently. And that is why I commented that it does not meet those requirements. So that's one of the items. If you notice where the fence line is, and this is the violation area, that means all this area in between is new alteration in the riverfront and floodplain. 2 resource areas under the state law as well as the local bylaw. That means when you take the difference between the two, all of this area on the right side or the wetland side of the fence will be restored, but the planting plan needs to be adjusted. The area in the pink is technically new alteration in the floodplain area that needs to be addressed under the performance standards. So because it was a previously developed riverfront area, you're looking at 10.585. Azu, is that the section you looked at?
Correct.
You looked at that section.
And 10.57, yeah.
10.57 is
10.57,
floodplain, but 10.585
Through 10.6, yeah.
this is the section for redevelopment. So you need to show at a minimum an improvement over existing conditions. Stormwater, you've added that for the garage. That's good. So C, work should not be any closer to the river than existing conditions. You're not, you're moving closer to the river, so this does not meet the state law for letter C. D, proposed work, including the expansion of existing structures, shall be located outside the riverfront area, which you're not able to do. If it's toward the riverfront area, then you have to meet F and G. F talks about degraded riverfront area, which is not on the property. That means you need to go to G. When the applicant proposes mitigation, either on-site or in the riverfront area, alteration may be allowed, but it has to be at a ratio in square feet of at least 2 to 1. So that means the pink area has to be calculated as the alteration. And then it's 2 to 1 that it has to be mitigated on the property. If not on the property, then off-site. Okay, those are the 2 items that I sent in the email to you. The applicant is required to meet all of the performance standards for all of the resource areas. The plan has been coming along and improving, but with small steps. So as each step is improved, it's another look at the regulations to make sure that it's in compliance with the performance standards. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, and I appreciate that, and you've done your due diligence, and I will 100% applaud that and echo that. But if you are looking at the information that Jen has presented, from a practical standpoint, the work that is now being proposed, no new proposal, is within that wetlands resource or alteration of the riverfront. That area is significant, right? That pink area, if you look at the area of the activities, we're talking redress of the alteration that was done. Nothing new, even in that pink area, is redressing what was done to satisfy that portion of the enforcement order.
Right, but you can't count mitigation under the state law as the same as the restoration from the violation. You can't double count that.
No, I'm not double counting. So the issue then is, here's really the issue here. The only thing that we're proposing And that is, if the commission says no, that is the prerogative of the commission. I cannot control what you as the advisor or agent of the commission will recommend, and I cannot control, I can only implore. The only thing that we are really proposing is the garage and the driveway paving. The driveway is already there. There is a benefit of paving the driveway. If the commission sees fit and said, no, we're not going to allow the garage, that is the prerogative of the commission. But we still need to address the restoration. So there is no viable location on that property, as you can attest to by observation. There is no place on that property to provide any mitigation for the driveway paving or for the house. The only mitigation that we have proposed is a recharge to address roof runoff and that portion of the driveway. That is the only mitigation that is practical on that property. And that's all I can say.
There's no waiver to the state law, so that has to be met. So either the pink area can be cleared up to the fence line the way you're proposing with mitigation that's 2-to-1, either on-site or off-site. Or if you're saying you can't meet that, then you can't get the pink area. There's no waiver for that. It's the
Well,
state.
no, that's right. That's what I was saying. That we don't need the pink area. Just to restore the area to address the violation and be done. The only thing that he wants to do is the driveway and the garage. That's it. Restore the pink area to what it was.
Okay, so
Is
then-
anybody able to hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, sorry. If there's any way, because I know last week some woman had joined and she had someone speaking for her. She had waited for this state for over a year to get back to her. I forget the property address. And you guys, it seemed as though you guys gave her a waiver to do the work she needed. And then I don't know if there was anything to follow up on after that. I'm asking that we forget the garage and forget the recharge if possible, to make this as simple as possible. I just want to pave the layout that I have right now so I can continue with my life and not worry about this runoff from the stone dust right now. I just want to have the grass loomed and seeded right around that area. I'm not asking for a lot. I don't want to get into any of those buffer zones either. I mean,
So Bill, it's the garage is fine by the plan right now. It's it's adding the lawn close to the river. That's the part that requires.
I don't need that. That's what I'm okay without for right now. We can come back for another meeting another day. I'm just looking, if that's what we need to do. I just need in front of my actual house to the right of it. If you're on the street looking at the house, I need that around the back
That's
where there was already grass. And then I just want the driveway paved. We don't have to touch anything over there unless you have something you want us to do. We can plan on that after. I'm asking for this to be done sooner than later, rather than having multiple more meetings for these little tiny details that keep getting added in. And so we can just figure something out so I can continue with my life. This is making me miserable.
Yep,
It is
but
ruining my life, to be
We're just
completely
gonna add
honest
all
with you,
those
Jen.
details were there in every staff report. We're just gonna.
Okay. You also forgot though that this septic tank was put in 2017. All that soil and whatnot that you had me sitting there in the rain digging up after you had told me to get a machine to do it. When I did get a machine, I rented it. I had it on my property. You came there and you were making jokes about me not having to go to the gym that day as I'm standing in the pouring rain digging holes. That soil was
That was
already
not
there.
me.
You brought it.
Hold on,
That was
hold
not
on,
me.
hold
That was
on, hold on,
Adu and
hold on, Bill. I am 100% here representing you, and that's my function. But I think bringing up anything else that's not germane to this hearing is unproductive, and I think we need to be very cognizant of that. I'm here representing you, and I will continue to do that. But he said, she said, that are not relevant to the hearing. I think we want to.
I apologize.
Okay.
I apologize. I'm just trying to prove a point that this was
You
not all of my
apologize.
doing.
So, well,
Yeah, you
Commissioner,
apologize,
Commissioner
Mr. Wall.
Colfels has his hand up, so I'm gonna allow him to speak.
So I'd just like to start with a point of clarification because I think I'm starting to understand one part of the conundrum that we're in here. And that is the 2-to-1 here. If the applicant is suggesting rather than an alteration to the pink area, that it simply is a restoration to the pink area, does that change our calculation? He's not suggesting that he wants to change it to lawn or, landscaped area at all. He wants to just do the restoration in that pink area. Does that help us in this process?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, I mean, they're just bringing that up tonight. So yes, that actually clarifies
I would
a number
say
of
so.
things. Yeah.
I would certainly say from my point of view, that I had not gotten that before a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
So if that was missed in the plans or the communication, we can all take responsibility for that and try and move forward from that. I personally think that there's a way forward on this if that's the case. If it wasn't the case, then we would have to sit there and say that's the problem.
That is the case. That is the case.
Okay, so that helps us a lot, and if we can just then we can sort of deal with what the restoration is, and if we have the right plant list or we don't have the right plant list for that restoration, that's a different topic than trying to offset alteration. Entirely different. One's just a mechanical, get the list from the botanist of what needs to go in there, and meet all the criteria that we're talking about here. We can talk about whether we can allow the 4 trees or not. That's from my viewpoint. We can talk about it. If they're dangerous trees or unhealthy trees, I don't think the commission has ever denied unhealthy trees coming down. So I think that we can probably find our way forward. At least from my perspective, I wasn't here at the last meeting. I did watch the hearing, but I think that one of the reasons why this has taken so long, Mr. Hines, is that this is one of the most challenging. It doesn't seem like it, but really, from a regulatory standpoint, this is one of those things that is one of the most challenging things we undergo when we see these things, especially when it's a single-family house that we're trying to get waivers within buffers, and it's really a problem for us. I mean, we're challenged by it all the time. We always work our way through it. I haven't been on one of these that we haven't worked our way through it. In the 7 years I've been here. So I think if you have a little bit of patience, we might actually get there. We may not get there tonight, but I'd be surprised if we're not there June 3rd, to be quite honest. I mean, that's my own opinion. I'm one of 5. But I think if we're talking about the pink being restoration and not alteration, it changes this whole discussion.
It does.
Yep. And that's well, Mr. Colfels, thank you. And like I've always insisted, it's like when you're telling your child, no, you can't have this. It's not good for your teeth. And the child is crying and insisting. At the end of the day, there's a way to convince them that it's actually better than going to get a retainer from a dentist. So I do believe that if we can get that driveway paved and do the garage, and then that pink area, just make that a restoration area, and leave one enough alone. And then I will talk to Ken Thompson. I am a damn good engineer and a damn good surveyor, but I make a lousy botanist. So, Mr. Thompson I can have him speak with Jen directly to make sure that the planting schedule meets the planting for restoration that we're talking about, and forget doing any work in that pink area. And I think that would work.
Comments from any other members of the commission?
No, I think Rory did a great job. Thanks, Rory.
I agree with Rory.
So,
I mean, the only thing I think that we should decide and be able to make a decision on next time is, I think the applicant's asking for permission to take down 4 or 5 trees. That's probably the one thing that I don't have a clear, and I probably have to visit the site to know. Or if Ken tells us, or there's an arborist that comes in and tells us that there are trees that need to come down, then I wouldn't even have to go and look. So I think that from my standpoint, that's the one question. I don't want Mr. Hines to come back here and have us ask another question that we haven't asked yet. So
Yeah, I think the representation was that the trees in the backyard are sick. The trees in the side yard would like to be removed. As if I'm misunderstanding that, please let me know. But I also wonder if it's not something that your botanist could figure out a restoration that includes some trees and maybe replace them with something smaller, a little bit farther away from the home.
Yeah, that's what he tried. The locations of the trees that we have is what he gave us. What we don't have is what Jen has just articulated and said that the sequence, how that you're going to do the actual work. And that is something that Ken can elaborate on. The
Perfect.
2 trees in the back, he said are dead and not as sick. And the 2 on the side pose threats to the house.
Okay.
So that's why if you look at the distribution and the density of the proposed trees, it's actually more than 2 to 1 than what he's proposed. So I appreciate it, and thank you for indulging us. And what we are hoping, if it is possible, to at least stabilize the driveway, because he told me he doesn't want to get in trouble, because now he knows what's involved. But is it possible between now? It's very hard to get asphalt people. Is it okay for him to pave that driveway so he's not hauling gravel and trying to put more gravel down?
I'd like some input from members of the commission here. I think all things considered, I think I'm okay with it here.
Can we break it
given-
up into pieces and approve a part of it? And
Well, I don't think we can give an approval just for the pavement work, but I think it's been contemplated for some time. And I believe that Ozzy will be here June 3rd with what I think will be final plans.
Yes, sir.
I back you, but yeah, I feel a little hesitant, but I'm with you.
Yeah, I have one question of Mr. Hines, please.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you were washing your trucks in the in that area. How do you prevent the oil from the trucks, undercarriages, etc., from not going into the floodplain and getting into the water system?
I don't really have an issue with oils coming off my trucks. It's more just,
Well, we might though.
I'm saying I don't actually physically have an issue with oil dripping off my vehicles. So basically right now it's hitting the stone dust, and then after I just, all the wet stone dust, I just take it and I have to get rid of it off the property. So that's why it's been such a hassle to have. As far as
Bill, if I can help here, Mr. Benson, basically, Bill, you can lower your hand. Your hand is gonna be hurting by now.
I don't,
Yeah, there you go. So, Mr. Benson, what he was saying is more of keeping the dirt off of his truck. Not ever, he doesn't service the truck there or wash them. And actually, he has very new vehicles. His vehicles are brand new.
But they won't be in X years.
Right.
I'm
but
just
he
saying,
doesn't-
if it's a normal thing to wash the trucks, then you're gonna get oil going off from them.
No, that's what he's saying is because it's the gravel driveway, that every time he walks on it, he gets his truck dirty. He just doesn't want the gravel getting on his truck. That's all.
there was already a driveway there in that same exact position. It was, I had widened the stone dust a little bit, but how did they prevent the oil from spilling down into the floodplain before, if that was actually an issue. Or was,
Bill,
Maybe they weren't washing commercial vehicles there.
I'm not I'm not too concerned about washing them. It's more of me loading them. Just, it's not a huge commercial operation. It's me taking a couple bins in and out of my van. I'm not a,
So I mean, I think that one of the things that always happens, and and we're probably about a month or two away from our annual SWIP plan coming up here, right? And so stormwater, pollution and prevention plan here. So I think that just in general, washing vehicles, it's better for even the detergent not to sort of just go off into the stormwater system, as opposed to being trapped somewhere either in a swale or something along those lines off the property. So maybe that's the condition that's been being considered here. I don't know. So I think that from my standpoint, certainly something that we should probably just have a short discussion here about whether or not there should be some sort of stormwater feature off the side of or one's been proposed. I don't know. Maybe there's a 6-inch stone,
There's a swale along the side of the driveway that goes back behind the garage into an infiltration area. So it should capture that as long as the driveway is pitched toward the swale.
that's exactly the design.
then I think I'd be okay with that. I mean, I understand
Yeah.
Mr. Benson's concerns, and one that we hear about every year for sure in this case. Anything we can do, especially in a new project like this, that we can improve the current conditions would be best too. So, are we, Jen, one last point of information before we let the applicant go here, or we think about this. So just one more question, then I'll give my opinion about whether or not we should think about paving this or not. Is that the waivers that exist for this property, are we still talking about waivers?
They do still
Probably.
be within 50 feet of the floodplain, so that's a waiver. Inner riparian for the riverfront area, so that's still a waiver. The ACEC is still a waiver. There's at least 3 waivers that are still required. And
But I want us to agree before we let Azu and Mr. Hines go, that we either accept the waiver, the public interest part of the waiver. I think they meet all the other criteria about location and alternatives and all this other stuff. I don't think any of that's a problem. I think the one thing is public interest here, and so the question is, and we were literally just talking about it, and that's why I sort of made a point of it, to be quite honest, is do we think that there's enough improvement to stormwater management here to prevent both effluent and pollutants to go into the system, both the stormwater system of the town as well as the river. So, because that's really about all that we can count on here. I mean, that's on property. And if we think in a single family house for somebody who's putting up a garage where he's handling all the stormwater, and he's putting in a driveway, which is an improvement of conditions over present conditions, potentially, that's just potentially, I'm just proposing something here, that if we believe that's in the public interest and enough to deal with this, then I want us to agree here, because I don't want to ask this question again next time and say the public interest isn't met, and then Mr. Hines and Azu would come back to us and say, you didn't say that to us last time. So that's something to consider. The last part is, as far as doing the pavement, I'm going to say that with hesitation, and I'm going to, in a caveat, is that I'm okay with it, except that if something goes topsy-turvy in the next 2 to 3 weeks and the permit doesn't get issued, or there's an appeal, to the permit. That it's going to be on the applicant to undo what he did. Okay, that's just the risk that the applicant is taking. I'm not threatening him. I'm just saying that's the facts of what the situation is. That you are taking a risk by doing it, just like any applicant that starts work in less than 10 days from when we issue a permit.
Yeah.
It's the appeal period. You're taking that risk. So to me, it's just a little bit more risk because you've got a couple more weeks here. Plus, the permit's not even issued. But I think we're there. But just from my standpoint, I just want the applicant to be 100% clear that there's some risk to this for you to do this. I'm okay with it because I think we're there. But I just want the applicant to be 100% plainly clear what the risk is.
Understood.
Thank you.
I'm in
Rory.
agreement. And I'm in agreement with the stormwater effluent mitigation that you mentioned, Rory.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of the commission? It does appear that we have some public comment. There's Larry Abreu has had his hand up for some time, so I am going to acknowledge Mr. Abreu and allow him to speak. If any other members of the public are here to discuss 40 Prospect Street, please put your hands up.
Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you. We can see you. Would you mind just
Oh, great.
stating your name and address for the record?
Sure. This is Lawrence Abreu. I'm at 42 Prospect Street, right next door to Mr. Hines at 40 Prospect Street. So I'm fully supportive of Mr. Hines and his engineer in the driveway, and I think the other neighbors are too. He's done some great work around the property to beautify it. I was a neighbor there. I've been at that property for 22 years now, and I do remember the septic system being moved to the front yard. And I think that front yard used to be almost level with my yard. It was probably raised about 4 to 5 feet. So I think there's been a lot of changes in that yard relative to, the flood areas. I do remember my neighbor mowing his lawn on the front lawn and going down to the right side of the house to the back to mow his lawn. So I would be in favor of Mr. Hines restoring that lawn in the front and also to the right side to the back. So I'm sure someday if he stays there and has his own family, he'd love to have a backyard, as well as if he ever has to resell that house to have an attractive backyard. Also, I would welcome anyone to walk on my property in the back. If they look in the last 5 years, we've had 2 massive pine trees fall in storms, probably you can see them clearly in the woods about 150 feet behind my house. They have fallen from the northeast to the southwest. Those pine roots are not very strong and those wetlands are pretty weak. So I think that in fact, one of those pine trees would probably fall on my property at some point. So I understand that concern. It's pretty daunting to see these pine trees rocking back and forth in a 50, 60, 70 mile an hour wind. So it would just from a neighbor standpoint, it'd be great to see the yard be restored to its original, at least as far as the lawn's concerned and the driveway. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for speaking. Any other public comment for 40 Prospect Street? All right, seeing none, I'm going to make a motion to continue. So motion to continue 40 Prospect Street to the June 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Henson, aye.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
Spady, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good night, Nan. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you. So turning to our next order of business, certificates of compliance, we're going to begin with 358 Turnpike Street, request for certificate of compliance for a residential septic system.
I'm not a co-host anymore, so I can't
I see Peter.
upload anybody.
Oh, I just lost him. I was trying to promote him. Here we go.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. We can see you.
Awesome. I'm gonna pull up a plan for this for discussion. If you could confirm that we're looking at it.
We can see it.
Awesome. For the record, Peter Lyons here with Collins Engineering. Also here tonight with Mr. Narsassian, the property owner. Just a recap of this project, we came in for a request for a certificate of compliance at the last meeting pertaining to the new septic system that was installed in the front of the property. In 2022, myself, Jennifer, and Peter, the property owner, met on site to discuss some improvements to the wetland buffer area in the back of the property. Looking at this plan, this was our mitigation proposal to get things cleaned up. In short, we had a crushed stone storage area, a lot of tires and trash, which most of it has been removed. The overall scope of this project was to remove a lot of trash in the buffer zones as well as in the wetlands themselves. Mr. Nassasi, that's taken the better part of a full dumpster of tires and debris out of here already. There are some remaining debris in the wetland at this time. I spoke with him earlier today and he's basically waiting for the ground to dry up a little more to get access to get the rest of the stuff out of the woods. To my knowledge, there's an old boat that's pretty beat up, that's deteriorating. So they need to wait till that ground sets up a little bit before they can go in. Otherwise, it's just going to make a huge mess. Additionally to the plan, we're proposing some concrete blocks to be placed along the edge of the gravel, basically giving back this hatched out area back to the buffer zone. It's approximately 1,000 square feet if you add it all up, to be excavated of gravel, brought down to the existing wetland elevation and replanted with a planting schedule as shown. We're proposing some high bush blueberry, chokeberry, winterberry, and then just a spread of a wildflower upland seed mix within that hatched area. So that's basically where we're at with this. The property owner is requesting until a little later in the summer, tentatively August 1st or September 1st. They should have the rest of this work done. Again, we're really waiting for the weather and for things to dry up a little bit. He is available for any comments if you have them. Otherwise, I'll take any questions or concerns from the commission at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer, do you have comments here?
Just a couple. Peter, what's the width between the wetland and the front edge of the concrete blocks?
How far off the wetlands are the blocks proposed? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, what's the distance?
It's about 5 feet in some spots, 10 to 20 feet in others. All of this is occurring within existing gravel area. So we're actually going to be reducing the amount of the crushed stone storage area. And the area that's proposed to get the blocks and the plantings is currently crushed stone storage. So we're increasing the existing buffer distance pretty much all around.
Peter, is there an existing barrier there now between the gravel storage and the wetlands?
Not to my knowledge. It was basically a little, 1 to 2 foot slope into the wetlands the last time I was out.
The only other comment I had was the trash was supposed to have been removed before the septic system was installed, so it's technically not in compliance with the permit and not really ready for a COC just yet.
Yeah, I mean, So your plan, as I understand, Peter, is to come back in August with all this done and ask for a COC again.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
We were just kind of touching bases, it's been 2 years now, so
Yeah.
we're just letting the commission know where we're at with this phase of the project.
I think that this makes a lot of sense. Comments, questions from other members of the commission?
I agree. Makes a lot of sense. It's good.
Jennifer, did I cut you off? Were you asking another question?
No, I was debating whether you want a motion to approve the restoration.
I think we probably ought to, just so that it's done, although I don't know what the motion would be, right? Because it's
Just
not
to
a,
approve the restoration plan as proposed.
all right, perfect. So I guess in that case, then I should probably ask if there's any public comment here for this. Any public comment for the requested certificate of compliance and now the proposed plan for 358 Turnpike Street?
Peter, can you stop sharing so we can see the participants, please?
All right, seeing none. Motion to allow the proposed restoration plan as proposed for 358 Turnpike Street.
Benson second,
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Caulfield's eye.
Speedy, aye.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, and are we gonna put any deadlines on that, or just like by the fall preferably? I know we're kind of getting into the growing season now, but I don't know when that's gonna happen, so if we could shoot for maybe September 1st.
So that would be the initial planting and then 2 years of monitoring, 2 growing seasons.
Yeah, we get the initial stuff all done. Going into the fall.
That makes sense. No, though, of course, if they want a COC in August, how does that shake out with 2 years of monitoring?
Well, it might not even be planted, so you'll want to come in
Yeah.
for the COC after you actually do the planting and we get the first report.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we got that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Next order of business, 15 Morse Road, request for certificate of compliance for a septic system.
So Ben, that would be Jeffrey or is Bob Rogers.
I see Bob Rogers. Promoting him now.
Mr. Chairman, Bob Rogers, GAF Engineering. Jeff Cutter is on the line also, Morse Farm Realty Trust.
Would you like me to promote him?
Yes, please.
Doing it now.
So Jeff's with us. I'm not sure if he's just on his phone or not.
Yeah.
So we're asking only for a partial certificate of compliance for the work that's completed, which is more than just the septic system. You know, it's the dwelling, the utilities, the grading, the driveway. You know, we're just trying to stay ahead of it if possible. So we know that the grass needs to grow and it needs to be mowed, and the grass is growing out there. You know, Jennifer went and did a visit. We have a report from Jennifer from the visit. And Jeff has been continuing to work to stabilize things out at the site in terms of mulching and putting compost or mulch in the areas that aren't proposed to be formal lawn. So we're asking for a partial, and there are two small additions to the plan that we submitted that would go along with the future request for a full certificate. There's just a couple of sections of fence that we didn't have located on our plan, and there's a driveway turnaround that just wasn't there at the time that our survey crew was last at the site. So I'll leave it at that. We're only looking for a partial certificate to get an occupancy. The people are living in there now on a temporary occupancy. And so I'll give the rest of the time to Jennifer and any questions and any input that Jeff needs to add.
Thank you.
I know Jeff sent a whole bunch of pictures today, but I wasn't able to open them. So sorry, Jeff. I know you obviously worked on it over the weekend, but I wasn't able to actually open them to look at the pictures. And Bob, do you know if the professional land surveyor stamp was added to the plan as well?
So we're going to do that all in one shot when we're ready to ask for the full. You know, I didn't want to submit another revised plan now just under the partial. You know, we have no problem getting that stamped when we come back for everything.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer, any additional staff comment?
No.
Any comments from members of the commission? Rory?
So do we, should we be considering that once we issue the partial certificate, this is sort of closed as far as the landowner and the builder are concerned, in the sense of being able to transfer title and everything. So should we be considering a surety to make sure that the rest of this gets done?
You've done that in the past?
Yeah, that was a question for the commission for sure. I mean, I think that we're in a situation where I think we want the process to continue moving forward for the new homeowner and allow the builder to sort of keep the process moving. But if we've seen too many of these where this gets issued as a partial and somebody comes back to us 20 years later saying the title isn't fully clear and that none of this stuff was done. So, and I'm not suggesting that Mr. Rogers is representing that that's what he's going to do, or that I'm intimating that he would do that. Just saying that from our standpoint, we've seen it way too many times. So,
yeah, if I may, it's just, I mean, it is an option in your regulations as well as in the state regulations. So we, you know, the request was made, can we please, you know, initiate an as-built and get a partial certificate of compliance? We know we cannot get a full certificate of compliance until the lawn has grown, and you know, there's language in there that it's has been mowed twice, I guess. I think I saw that. So you know, we're in a spot where we have a temporary occupancy permit that's only good for 60 days, and they're in the house. So I don't know the legality of, I mean, if we only receive a partial certificate of compliance, and we do, I mean, I haven't done this very much. So if we record a partial certificate of compliance, it says it's partial and there's more to be done. If we don't record a partial certificate of compliance and it's simply used for the occupancy permit, then we have not recorded a document that releases the lien on the property, which is the order of conditions. So it would seem to me, if we receive a partial just to satisfy the town of Easton, and we do not record that, and we certainly wouldn't represent it as a full, then there is no ability to skirt the process, if you will.
Well, it's already kind of skirted if you've passed papers and somebody's living there. That's the reason why it's recorded on the deed and the reason for the requirement to get a certificate of compliance. under the regulations, but the surety would be for the final as-built plan and to reseed the lawn just in case something doesn't happen and no one goes back and redoes it. It'd be for, the surety would be for those, the amounts to do those two items.
So reseeding of the lawn and just the production of the final as-built with the PLs.
Correct. Yep.
So if all of that was $1,000, what would we do to satisfy the commission with surety $1,000 bond?
It's $1,000 for a as-built plan. If I had to hire somebody to do an as-built plan.
So,
I'm assuming you hire us.
yeah,
since we've already done one and you know, I defer to Jeff certainly, but what and
so we're not typically asking people to get 3 quotes, but we ask for, you know, a realm of reasonableness for what it would cost to do those 2 things. And then it goes through Jennifer, who will agree, and then some surety language gets written up, signed by both parties, and the money's held until order of conditions is released.
And then it's all released back.
okay, there's no ability.
We don't want to do the work, just to be clear.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I understand, and
So you can provide an estimate and the commission can just so it doesn't go to the next meeting, they can vote to issue the partial certificate of compliance once the surety is posted, but it would not be issued until the funds have been received.
Jeff, do you have any thoughts?
I'm happy to speak if, am I
Please.
being heard or?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'll work with the board and, it does seem like there's very minimal work that needs to be done, whether it be on the plan, which is 90%, it's just a couple pieces of fence and showing the driveway.
I can't update the plan, add those features, have it stamped and be done with it, and then that would not be a part of the surety.
Correct. Yep. The more complete your application is, the easier it is to reduce that surety amount that would be required.
As far as the, so I guess it would be my understanding that the only thing the surety would be for would be the grass. I'm a little unclear if it's a 2-year order of conditions or 2 growing seasons. So
2 mowings, not
mowings.
growing seasons.
just 2 mowings.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mowings.
I talked to the hydro seeder today. It's his intention to hit it again in a week to 10 days once we, the grass is coming up, but we've had some rain. There could be a couple washouts of seed areas. So in an effort to minimize paperwork and 6 months of holding a surety, might it make sense to give it a couple weeks before, but we're not going to have mowed grass obviously in 2 weeks. Or otherwise we'll do a surety. It just seems like a very small amount of money to, I know my word, you don't know me, I'm certainly going to stick with this, but it does seem like a lot of effort for a very small amount of money. And we are on the hook because it's our name to it. But that's up to the committee. I'm not going to object. I'm just giving you my thoughts.
Yep. So if your landscaper can provide that estimate, then it's easy for us to say that's the surety amount.
Which estimate is that? For the hydro seeding in a week?
To re-hydroseed the property should it not work.
Well, it is working right now. If the grass is growing, so it.
Okay. But you don't have two mowings just now when you
Understood.
need it. So yes, that is the amount for the surety and what the commission is typically requesting of applicants.
Again, so I get you the proper estimate. Are you looking for to spot hydro seed what isn't working or what doesn't come up, or are you asking for to hydro seed the entire property again?
Hydro seed the entire property.
Okay.
All right. Comments or questions from other members of the commission?
Seems fair.
So then we're doing a partial certificate of compliance contingent upon the execution of a surety.
Correct.
So motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance, which will be issued after the completion of a surety bond, posting of a surety bond.
Crossman second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
Spady, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Turning to our next order of business, 15 Longview Drive. Request for certificate of compliance for a residential septic system.
That's gonna be me again. Can you pull that plan up for us? Let's see. What's going on here? Are you guys looking at the plan now? Yeah, I think it's working.
We can see it.
Awesome. Again, Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering, representing the homeowner for this. This is a septic project, installed about a year ago. The site looks very good, in my opinion. I was out there about 2 weeks ago. The grass over the septic has grown in very well. Around the septic system, you see a concrete retaining wall that was installed as part of the project. Since then, there has been a fence installed on top of the wall. The black circles shown are our conservation post markers. Those are installed and in place. A lot of them are right on the fence themselves. And then we got this stray one over here on the western portion of the property, right at the existing tree line. Couple other conditions with this project. We relocated some propane tanks that were behind the fence. Those were just brought inside the fence. There's a new shed that was installed as approved with the original application. So this reflects the new shed, the new propane locations, obviously the subsurface septic system and the lawn above it. We believe this site is in compliance, so we're requesting a certificate of compliance. If there's any questions from the commission, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you,
So I didn't get a
Jennifer.
reply to the staff report. Can you address those two items?
I have not seen the staff report. I can do my best to answer them. I know sometimes you send them out. Are those staff reports? They used to be in one of the like agenda folders on the town website. Are they still available in there?
They're available on Permitize and they're sent to George. Hasn't been a staff meeting folder on the website for at least 2 years.
Okay. Then no, I have not seen the staff report, but I'd be happy to try to address any concerns.
One of the conditions is to cut and cap the 4-inch pipe near flag 19. It does not appear to have been done.
I believe that's a downspout pipe servicing the roof drains back off of corner A off the garage. So I believe that is still in service. So I don't think we can just cap that. I did see that and have the discussion with the property owner. I believe that is an active drain line. So I'd be willing to suggestions from the commission, but if that's just clean roof runoff,
I'm not sure why that wouldn't have been brought up when we talked about it at the public hearing, though.
I don't know.
Okay. No, two of the no disturbance signs are actually facing the fence toward the house instead of toward the wetland.
Okay. Those
Two
the
items
ones
to be
near the septic system, is it those posts that you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay, so you want them facing the wetlands. I guess it was our client's intent that we wanted them to be visible from the street if you were to say access parallel with the property line along the fence.
Okay, so they could just be moved to see where your arrow is facing that side of the post now.
Yes, sure.
Put the marker on the fence right where your arrow is instead of facing the fence.
Okay. Yeah, so that's obviously an easy fix. I don't have an immediate solution for the cap of the pipe. I don't know if we really have an option to reroute that. I mean, we certainly don't want to get into creating more, dry wells or anything.
I guess we would need some actual documentation that it really is the downspout. I mean, the staff report went out a couple of weeks ago, so we haven't heard anything until tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I apologize for that. I did
Give everyone the comments so they can have the answers in time for the meeting.
Alrighty. Any other concerns on this?
No, those are the only ones I had. Thank you.
I don't have any additional comments or concerns here. Any other members of the commission have anything they'd like to add? All right. Do we need a motion to continue?
Motion to continue 15 more
Ah.
years.
Carol second. Call motion, Carol second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Caulfield's aye.
Spadia, aye.
All right, moving on to enforcement. Let's begin with 109 Rockland Street, which is enforcement for cutting vegetation, grading, and filling of wetland.
Yeah, the wetland consultant was supposed to have contacted me for a site inspection in the last couple of weeks. She emailed Saturday at 6 o'clock at night. So this inspection had not been done before tonight's meeting.
Okay. That is a little disappointing. Was a date for a site visit proposed?
No. Well, she proposed tomorrow, but I'm speaking at a conference tomorrow.
I guess, and I'm open to input from members of the commission, but this one's been dragging on for a while despite having a consultant involved. And I would really like to see this inspection happen between now and the next meeting, and a plan to move this forward.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah.
I don't know if that
This one has dragged on so long. I can't see registering it for a future meeting unless they come back in the meantime and Jennifer's satisfied. Otherwise, I think we're wasting commission time.
I mean, the only thing is keeping it on, excuse me if you don't mind, the only thing, keeping it on the agenda keeps them accountable. So the only way to keep them accountable is either keep them on the agenda or establish fines. So those are two options, unfortunately, with enforcement. So you either keep working with them, and if we wait for them, they'll just make us forget about it. So
yeah. You know, and I hesitate to, you know, find a homeowner who's retained a professional consultant to fix a problem, but at a certain point, we will have to consider next steps on this.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not suggesting we do fines here. I just think that
Yeah,
let's give them one more chance here, and then the next meeting we can sit here and say, okay.
agreed completely. So let's move to 80 Short Street, which is filling a wetland new patio that was constructed without a permit.
It'd be Peter
Peter's-
again.
Yeah, Peter's here. I haven't had to promote him because he just keeps going offline and then popping back in.
I'm here. This is my last one I got for you. Let's see. Confirm we can see it.
We can see it. Could you just zoom in?
Sure. So this this project was brought up at the last meeting. Just a overview. This has been going on for a while. We proposed a couple years ago a restoration plan showing some gravel storage area. The gravel's proposed to be removed. A lot of this work has been done. We are still waiting on the client to do the plantings and the final loam and seeding of this area. Basically, we are looking to amend the existing permit to include a concrete patio that was recently installed without conservation approval. As discussed in the last meeting, this was an existing previously disturbed area. However, it is within the 50-foot buffer to the wetland. The client has installed about 1,300 square feet of impervious materials. It's a concrete here. And then the red or hatch section is paver patios. So we're really just kind of looking for some guidance on how to handle this. Typically, we would come in with a notice of intent. The work has already been done. So we're hoping to have a discussion and basically amend the existing application to include this work. So again, we know it's within the 50-foot buffer to the resource area. Our client had gone to the building department, asked them about doing the patio work. They said no problem. Not realizing that there is a problem as it's obviously in conservation jurisdiction. So long story short, this patio is in place. We're just trying to see how the commission wants to handle it. And our recommendation would be to include it with the work being done as the site mitigation or restoration, sorry.
So for something to be an amendment, it has to fit within the original scope of the original permit. The original permit is for restoration of a violation. It's not really for new work, and that's why the commission required a notice of intent to be filed. I can pull up the original permit if you want to look at the purpose.
I understand. I agree with that this does not meet the original intent of the filing. So if that's the way that we have to proceed, then I guess we would be coming in with a separate notice of intent for this project. Ultimately, we're just kind of trying to streamline this. We're not really looking for an approval or denial, as typically with a notice. This is already installed, so I guess, basically, if the commission's not going to let this fly, being within the 50-foot buffer, we would rather just know that than prepare a, notice of intent to be shot down and have to remove it anyways. So I don't know if there's any comments from the commission on this one, or if there's a simplified way to handle this, or any preliminary discussion regarding, is this going to fly under a notice of intent with the associative restoration work that's currently ongoing out here. you know, this is already in place. We're just trying to deal with it as soon as possible, not drag it out any longer than it has to be. So if the commission has any input to that, or if the input is just to come back with a notice of intent, we can certainly do that.
Just if you don't mind, Mr. Chair.
Please.
As one opinion here, I'm having a hard time with this for a couple of reasons. One is the applicant feigns ignorance that this was in jurisdiction area. He was previously in violation for working in this area, so I really don't understand that at all. I had a previous notice of intent that really just doesn't make any sense to me, so I'm having trouble with that particular justification for the fact that this was put in unpermitted because the building department said it was okay. This is going to be another one of those cases where you're in the buffer zone, you need a waiver. I don't know where you're going to get public interest for this to offset the waiver. It's again, and it seems so minor, and I don't want to be picayune about this stuff, but really, this is these are these challenging things that tend to be minor on the surface, but really fly in the face of regulations and bylaws, local regulations and local bylaws. So that's a bit of the challenge here from my perspective. Just those two comments to me, I'd say that this is a little bit of an uphill battle for me personally.
Yeah, Peter,
I do have one question if you're.
please, Jennifer.
Peter, is this base plan the original plan, or is this plan showing the gravel has been removed to the elevation that was required?
This is a updated plan showing the actual erosion control locations. You can see that they do encroach slightly into the wetlands. That was due to encompass the fill that has been removed. So it's still existing. It's not loam yet. It's basically at the proposed level minus the loam. So this has been updated to show the actual as it stands sedimentation control.
Well, yeah, not the sedimentation control, the area with the gravel is.
Yeah, it's
Spot grades there, that's at the elevation it's supposed to be. Can you add those spot grades to this?
yeah. So again, I don't. This happened last time. I don't know why the elevations are not on here. We do show some spot grades. We have updated topography on site, so if we're coming back with another notice, we could absolutely get that straightened out. It looks like the layers were just turned off when the PDF was made for whatever reason. So that's on us. But yeah, I guess gravel wouldn't. It's just fill basically that's in there now. It's not organic, loam. It's not really rocks like crushed stone. It's just fill material. So yeah, I mean, most of the material that's supposed to be removed is out of there. The site is leveled. They're just waiting to do the final loam and seed and planting. So we can certainly turn those contour layers back on and add some spot grades with this.
Okay, and that original permit must be expiring.
Yeah, I think it expires in August. So we were originally looking for an extension. The client didn't want to do the extension because he was confident that he could get all this work done and the plantings installed prior to that deadline.
They might get the plantings installed, but not the 2 growing seasons of monitoring,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, so if that's required, I guess we would probably go in the route of continuing this to the next hearing, seeking an extension with to accommodate the 2 seasonal monitoring. And then it sounds like you want a separate notice of intent for the patio work. However, I don't feel optimistic about the commission approving that. That's kind of how I'm feeling. So again, we just don't want to go through with this if you guys already know that it's not going to fly and he's going to have to take it up. You know, we'd rather spend the money doing something with the patio than filing for a notice that we know we're not going to get approved. So that's just our thoughts. I don't know if the commission has anything else to say on that.
I think it's a little tough for them to be able to say they would or wouldn't approve a permit that hasn't been applied for. We would never be able to do that with anybody who came in and said, I'm only buying this house if I can put in a garage. Like until we have the permit application, the commission is probably going to be rather reluctant on saying whether it would be approved or not. But I mean, they could certainly give you, you know, a feeling on it, I guess. They may not be comfortable doing that is all I'm saying.
Yeah, so I mean, typically if we're proposing this, we would propose some, you know, extensive mitigation or something to offset, something to benefit the public, you know, to meet that criteria. However, we're kind of already doing a lot of work, you know, with the separate restoration application out here. That's my only hesitation. You know, I'm not going to propose more plants and stuff because we're already doing a bunch of that work out here.
So I think if there isn't some mitigation to offset the impact, I think we'd have a really hard time approving a notice of intent. If a notice of intent comes in and it meets the performance standards, I think we'd all be willing to review the application.
Sure. Okay. Okay, any other input from the commission, or I think we have to move forward with that?
Somebody's in attendees as Cheryl, who's had their hand up and down for a little while.
Peter, you have to stop sharing your screen. Thanks.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
This is James and Cheryl Bugner. We're the property owners.
Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
I do. I would like to add a lot, actually. When I talked to the engineer itself, and he said what has to be done if you folks are looking for a notice of intent, that's a $4,000 bill that they would have to file with the state. That, again, we were unaware of what was going on. We did call the town of Easton. We did talk to the building department before we did this job. They said a permit was not required. So we don't know all the laws on what's supposed to be done and what's not supposed to be done. I'm not sure if you folks seen the before and after pictures of what the property looked like and what we've done to this property since we lived here. What happened when we were in the violation, we ripped down the fence to replace the fence. We didn't fill any wetlands. All we did is put gravel next to the fence. And we didn't even put it on the 2,800 square feet that the former inspector that used to work for you guys, but we just agreed, okay, we will fix all that. We were in the wrong. It wasn't even 2,800. It was just the length of the fence. It was just to put a small parking trailer there. It wasn't even in the back, but we're going to fill that. We're going to fix all that. We're going to plant stuff back there and grass, everything you said. We're at 2 weeks ago when we had the meeting, we're at the point of all we're doing at this point is getting some filling a couple low spots, having the engineer come back out to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to flow. I have the loom here on property already. I have the seed here on property already. For us to go file a notice of intent, and again, I understand, Jennifer, you're not sure if you can say you're gonna approve or not approve without a permit. We can't afford to spend $4,000 for a notice of intent that's just gonna sit in the state somewhere. It comes back to the town of Easton. You say no. What I'd rather do is I'd cut the concrete out, throw it all away, fix what I gotta get, stick a sign in my front yard and sell my home. Because all we're trying to do is clean up our property. You know, when we lived here, we moved here in 2021, no, 2000. I have to say a few things. I'm sorry, and I don't want to take a lot of everybody's time, but I do got to speak my mind. We moved in this property of May of, hold on, I got it right there. May 24th, 2019. Within under 2 years, we got the violation. So we were here 2 years. We did a lot of improvements to the yard, everything else. COVID came into place. We got the violation. It was a $5,000 bill that we were unaware that we would have to pay because we had to hire engineers. We had to pay people to go inside the wetlands, pull out all the existing stuff. There was stuff in there for 30 years. At one contractor pulled out 8 Christmas trees. We was only here 2 years. We don't even have a fake Christmas tree, a real Christmas tree. So there was stuff dumped in that wetlands for years and years and years. And what I was told is, well, you own it now. We shouldn't own it. We shouldn't have to be responsible for it, but we did it. I bit my tongue and we did take all that stuff out. We did make it cleaner. We are compliant, but we can only do what we can afford. Now, this new project and this new error I must have did with trying to make my backyard safe. And I've sent pictures to everybody what it used to look like. It was unsafe for people to go and spend time in my backyard. There was a 6-inch lip that you drop right off. You couldn't eat there. You couldn't sit there. You couldn't. This is all within the fence, all inside my backyard. So yeah, that error was done, but we can't keep on going $4,000, $3,000. We've $12,500. We're at this property right now, and we're not finished. And we're not even finished. Now we're going to add another $4,000 for a notice of intent to just cut up the concrete, to throw it away, ruin the backyard. When does it end? When does it end? I wish everybody would look at the photos, what we did, the improvements we made to the property. We're not going to do anything wrong to the property. We didn't fill anything inside the wetlands. All we did is put some gravel next to the new fence we put in. And it's only 8 feet wide. It wasn't 2,800 square feet. It was 900 square feet. But we said, all right, let's do it all. So we'll comply. So we get along. But it just never ends. It just never ends. I try to make my backyard safe for my family, for the people that come over. I called the town. This all started way back when I applied for a permit for a gazebo in my backyard. That's how this problem started. Me doing the right thing as a taxpayer, applying for a permit to do something in the backyard instead of just doing it. We tried to apply for it. Everybody approved on it. That's when the commission got involved and said, all right, you can't do that. It's too close to the wetlands. Let's come out and see. And that's when they seen the gravel next to the fence. And that's where we are. $12,000 later. And we're just going to spend more and more and more. We can't afford it. We can't afford it. We just can't afford it. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry about getting a little loud. I'm sorry about all that, but that's where we stand. We won't, if we're not going to get approved, we're not going to spend $4,000 plus just I have to pay now to cut it up and throw it away. And then live with what I have to live in the backyard. I wish you folks would look at the pictures of what we had to live with. It wasn't good. You couldn't eat food out there. It was so bad out within the fence. We took down a rotted fence. We cleaned out 30 years of stuff out of the wetlands that we didn't put anything in there. Mounds and mounds of rotted wood, mounds and mounds of somebody put firewood back there and stacked it up to as tall as I am. Bricks, everything. We didn't put any of that back there. None of it. But we cleaned it all up. We got all of that up. We took all that expense on and cleaned it all up. But now it's gonna keep on going. We can't do it no more. So that's where we are. I'm sorry to take too much time.
Sorry, thank you for the comment. I think where we're at here is we have two different things going on. We have the enforcement issue and then unpermitted work that we need to figure out what to do about. And we can't include that in the enforcement issue that we have before us. It has to be a separate permit. And I'm not willing as chair, and maybe other members of the commission could speculate as to what we would or wouldn't do depending on how that new patio winds up getting presented in a notice of intent.
If they already approved it, how was you supposed to know?
So Jim, you have the loam and the seed
Yes, yes,
ready,
we've had
ready
that.
to
We've
go.
had it
I
at the
think
end
it's
of
been
last
there
year.
a while, right? So when,
Yes, it
when
was
do you
there
have
since last
plans
year,
to
and
put that in?
within the next 2 weeks, but I wanted to, I have to level it a little bit more before I put the loom down. And you're welcome to come out for inspection after that. I've already got a call in to have 4 or 5 yards put into with a couple low spots that Peter pointed out that I have to rectify, so the grade is proper, so everybody's happy with that. So he can come out, look at it one more time to make sure the grade is right before we, I didn't put the loom in yet because I wasn't sure if I was able to until the grade was perfect. How the grade is supposed to be. So we didn't jump ahead. We've had the loom here. We spent $800 on the loom last year because I thought we were ready. But when he come out, he said, "You're not ready. You got to fill a little bit more over here, a little bit more over there." It was the end of the growing season, so we didn't do any of that. The ground was too hard. We didn't do it. And then, so now that's where we are now. With 2 weeks ago, I said that's what our intentions were. That's why we didn't need an extension, because we're just trying to get this done, put it behind us, and just get it over with. We got to stop the expense.
So in 2 weeks, you'll be able to get the loam and seed in. What about the plants? When do you think you can get those in?
Within 2 weeks.
You'll
Does
be able to do
does
the
Peter, do
plants
you
as
need
well?
to come out? Peter, do you need to come back out before I put the loom down?
No, I don't need to go back out if Peter has said that the grades are correct and you've been working with Collins Engineering, then that should be fine. You have an engineer saying that the grades are correct.
Yeah, so with you, I'd say the grade's 95% there. There's a couple spots that we're just trying to smooth out.
Right. And that's what we were doing before we put down anything, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to take a look at the calendar. Because the next meeting is in 3 weeks.
Okay,
But you said you're able to do that work within 2 weeks.
we'll do it before the next meeting, as long as when rain looks like it's happening this week. This weekend, it looks like it's happening, but I've got the dirt waiting for the guy to say, drop it off. It's $300 and a little bit of fill. I've already got the soil. So we got to get that fill, grade off those couple spots, then lay the loom down. We have the seed already. We purchased the seed, and then we can seed it, and you're welcome to come out and take a look. And I would really love to people to look at my backyard, what it looked like prior to me putting down this concrete, which I tried to apply for. Every time I try to apply for something and we try to do the right thing, it backfires. And this backfired. This backfired on us, and it's still backfiring. We didn't go ahead and lay down no concrete or try to fix and make our backyard safe until we called the town. We didn't know we'd have to talk to anybody outside our fence. Our pool shed, if you look at the plan, is closer to the wetlands than anything I've done.
Was existing.
So
That's
just
over
2
the
weeks
property
would be
line.
the 27th.
Oh.
2 weeks would be the 27th. You think you'll be
Okay.
able, you'd have it done by then? That's when I can come out and do an inspection.
What's today? Yes,
Today's the 13th, so 2 weeks,
Yes.
the 27th.
yes,
Okay. Why don't we schedule that and
okay,
get that taken care of first, okay?
okay, that's perfect, yep, let's get that out of the way. I understand 100%.
Okay, so you'll email me or call me as soon as it's done, so I can come
Yeah.
look at it, but it should be before the 27th.
Okay,
Okay,
I agree.
Right.
all right, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so our next order of business is 24 Summer Street, cutting vegetation near the wetland. As I recall, there was a proposed notice of intent for a plan that we had discussed. Did that ever make its way through the office?
No, 2 weeks ago, they said they just needed a little more time, and I haven't heard from them, so I'll have to follow up with them tomorrow.
That's been floating around for a little while, so it'd be good to have a solid update by next meeting. I know we did a site
Okay.
visit and met, and
Yep.
I think he'll get it done.
Yep.
Anything else need to be said? All right, so moving on to 5 Jonathan Drive, stream dredging, wetland and buffer zone alterations.
I don't see Paul on the call.
Let me just look because I lost that window. I also don't see Paul. So he had reached out, as last updated the last meeting, he had reached out to an environmental consultant who, it's my understanding now, and I believe did he send this in an email to Jennifer, or to you, Jennifer, or to me? But the consultant is not going to work with them on this issue. We've taken the position as a commission that he really needs to have this supervised by a wetland scientist or wetland consultant of some kind. It's just beyond the scope of what a homeowner can do. And we're at a point here where I think, it's an enforcement order that's been dragging on for too long. And if we don't have a consultant involved to supervise this work, I mean, the work doesn't have to be done by next meeting, but at least a plan to get it done with a consultant on board and retained. I think we're going to have to start having a conversation about fines and or referring it to town council to seek an injunction.
Can we even speed that up a little faster to get him on the hook for a consultant? I mean, before even the next meeting, like within a week. I mean, he's known he's had to get this done. I think we knew we had issues with Mark as well, so.
It's been ongoing for a while.
Yeah, I think that's, you get a week. You get a week.
Well, but then what happens in the week?
At least he has someone on the hook and he's got someone gonna commit to doing the work, a scientist that will do the work. At least we know it. And then at least we get the ball rolling before the next meeting.
Sure, yeah, but what if he doesn't? I guess that's the
That's
question. What happens?
Ben just said, I think. right?
If you only give him 1 week to do that, then what's the consequence if he's not able to do that?
Start pining.
Okay. He is able to use LEC's restoration plan. There's nothing wrong with that plan. He just needs a wetland professional to oversee hiring someone with expertise or some sort of experience in restoring that stream back to the original elevation of the bottom of the stream.
I know we typically don't, but do we have a list of vendors that we could provide?
He was provided with the list of vendors.
All right.
Yep.
All right. I'm in favor of getting this done as soon as we possibly can. I just think if you were to call a wetland consultant today, I think a week is an ambitious timeline to get somebody retained and understanding what's going on.
They need, they need time to come out, look at the site.
I would be in favor of, a clear message that says, by next meeting, somebody's got to be retained and there has to be a plan to get this work done. Or we're going to have to take next steps here.
And Ben, I know you've spoken to him before. Is that something that you're willing to do?
Yeah, I can do that again. It's the most fun part of this position. Sarcastically. Any other comments from members of the commission about this particular situation?
Is the barrier to this is that the cost of doing the restoration work, or okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're told.
Yeah. Which, like LEC had said, it's laborers, it's 2 laborers for a day. We'll likely be able to get it done with the supervisor. But I do have concern. I think there are some financial concerns about getting it done. And but it does also, it needs to get done.
And I think too, we've also tried to mitigate those financial concerns for them as well, or for him as well. So I think we've definitely given our effort to help out for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we tried to fix it. It was very hard to do.
Yeah.
Rory, I know you haven't seen it, but the stream has been dug down 12 inches to a foot. So it's been dredged.
And the real issue is that, you know, once the larger stones were removed, it just created a erosion problem. And the farther the stream goes, the deeper the erosion gets. And so the rocks and the sediment need to go back in. And then what I think makes it really challenging for a homeowner is the sediment that's now washed into the vernal pool at the end of the stream needs to be pulled out and restocked. And it's a lot of work.
There's quite a bit of it. I mean, it's at bedrock at this current moment, and it's a significant amount of stream. Well over a couple 100 yards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not
Downhill.
it's not a small thing that would sort of grow back on its own. It
No.
needs some serious work addressed to it.
And I would encourage members of the commission to try to make it a point to go take a look at the situation. And
You can see it right from your car. You don't even have to get out. It's right
Yeah.
after the bridge. You'll visibly see it.
Thank you.
so I think that's, I don't think that requires a vote. It's just a message back. And I can make a phone call also and follow up. The next up is 153 Bay Road, removal of vegetation from conservation restriction land.
They've started removing the earth back onto their own property, and I'm in contact with them about getting the plantings done soon.
Good. 8 Lyman Wheelock.
Yep, also started removing the trees that were dumped into the wetland, removing all of the logs, and she'll be getting the plants soon as well.
Perfect. I like it when these go smoothly. 80 Goldfinch.
It's easier. I've
Jeez.
not heard back from the property owner, so
That unfortunately needs to go to town council.
well, I'll give it one more try, a hard copy and an email again, and if not by the next meeting, then you probably need town council to send a letter.
I think that makes sense.
Can you give me some context on this particular?
Yeah,
one?
this, and sorry, Jennifer, if you want to give it. This
Yeah.
is a neighborhood in Brockton that abuts Easton Conservation property, not wetland, but property that we own as a commission. And
Like-
there's been some progressive encroachment.
Well, it's yeah, well over 50 feet into town property. Portion of it is like a pool and a fire pit, and then the rest is a significant area of grass.
Hold on, wait, so the pool encroaches into the conservation?
I
into
think
our
it's
property?
right on the edge.
Okay, I was understanding it was just the lawn, because it looked like
No,
there was
no,
like a buffer of trees and then trees had been cut over time.
There's a fence and some trees in the pool, and then there's a like a fire pit, small patio sort of area as well, that
Yikes.
might be right on the line. And so my suggestion to him was to, get a surveyor and know the exact line. I had a plan, we had the tape measure, we tried to measure it out roughly, and I said, this is just a rough. You're gonna need to get somebody to do that officially for you, and then stop mowing the grassed area. That's going to be a big help toward remediating the violation, but I haven't heard back from him.
Okay. So I think one more round of follow-up, because it did at first seem like he was very open to fixing the problem.
Yes. Yep.
And if we get ignored again, we'll send it to town council for another letter.
Yep.
Or a letter,
You let it-
not another letter. He hasn't sent one yet.
Just me.
Yeah. Anything else on 80 Goldfinch? 8 Union, potential clearing complaint.
Yeah, we got a complaint that they were clearing trees near, wetland vernal pool habitat. I did the inspection, I didn't see anything, so I just sent a friendly letter that said, hey, if you plan on doing something, there's wetland and it would require permits. And I think I copied you in the binder.
Yep.
That's it.
All right, so on to board discussions, committee appointments. So let's start with associate members.
Yes, and Chris Patrick and Jonathan Chase had expressed interest and they would like to be reappointed. And it looks like
Fantastic.
they're both here.
So let me write both. As a reminder to everybody, last week we had spent a couple of meetings clarifying the role of associate member. We voted to adopt, I don't know if it was new, but at least a written description of what an associate member does. And Jonathan and Christopher are interested in continuing in this role.
I mean, you're really just up for a vote, and unless they have something they would like to add.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was just promoting them to see if they had anything they'd like to add, but hey, Chris,
Hi.
how are you?
Good evening. Yes, I'd like to continue with the role of an associate commissioner. I sense that there's some projects that you guys have expressed interest in advancing, and I'd like to help with those where I can.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So I'll do these one at a time. Motion to appoint Christopher Patrick as an associate member of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
Spady, aye.
Welcome back aboard, Chris.
Thank you.
Motion to appoint Jonathan Chase as a associate member of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Crossman, second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
Spady, aye.
Welcome back aboard, Jonathan. So I think we certainly have a lot of potential projects that we'll be including in. And I'll work with Jennifer to start creating a list. I think we've actually already started creating the list, but to sort of finalize priorities, and we'll work with you to figure out what you think is most important, and we'll just start making sure things are getting done.
Do you have an envisioned schedule that you would publish for when we would come and do our quarterly updates, or is that something you're going to work on?
I think that's something we got to work on. It's probably something that we should work right into the meeting schedule. You know, like just a quarterly meeting that includes associate members, and we can outline that in our tab on the website for the Conservation Commission annual schedule. And then I think, of course, we can be flexible and move that around with pending agendas.
I sense that we'll probably be more busy for projects and implementation work. It'll be more busy during the good weather season and for planning and whatnot during the winter. So, yeah.
I think in an ideal world, absolutely.
Yep.
All right, so thank you for your time.
I just want to say that you know, I've personally benefited from Chris's and Jonathan's participation in the past. They've both been very kind to me in field work and spending time with me out in the field in trails and visiting properties, and I truly do appreciate their kindness personally to me, and also the hard work that they've contributed to not only the commission but the town in general. So thank you both.
Thank you, Rory. All right. So our next order of business is Community Preservation Committee appointment. I think Al has expressed interest in continuing in that capacity. Is that still the case?
Yes, it is. And the chair has also requested I continue, so there's support on that side.
As long as they want you.
Yeah.
I mean, we certainly appreciate you doing it. I think you've been very effective there.
Alan's frozen.
I can't tell if it was me or him. I've been a little in and out this meeting too.
I nominate Al Benson for the Community Preservation Committee.
Carol second. Roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
Spady, aye.
Thank you, Al. And then we have another one. Committee for Climate Action Planning. And Jennifer, I think this is new. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about what this committee is doing?
We have, I don't even know. It hasn't been brought to me yet. It was only given to me to ask you guys for.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. So
Can
I mean,
can I jump in here for a second?
Please.
The committee has been put together with 9 members. It's one of the committee members from the Conservation Commission, and then some other town folks, as well as resident and trade folks, to put together a climate action committee.
Al, you cut out on us again.
So good too.
So I hope Al can hear me, but I know he has expressed an interest in being on the Committee for Climate Action Planning, and I think he clearly knows more about it than anyone else on the commission. And I think he'd be an excellent resource to us, as we've all seen him take Community Preservation Committee very seriously and bring some serious benefit back to the commission and what we do. So I move to nominate Al Benson for Committee for Climate Action Planning on behalf of the Conservation Commission.
Second.
Second.
Now I feel like we're doing it without his permission because he popped out, but I know he would like to.
He asked.
No,
Okay.
too late. We nominated him. It's done.
Yeah, no take backs.
Roll call.
So roll call vote. Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
Spady, aye.
We'll have to send Al an email that he got the job. Conservation project list, wetland regulation updates.
That's all you, Ben.
I know. I'm behind on this project. I need to review, and under chair updates, I have my second daughter being born. She's scheduled for June 3rd, but I suspect she's coming a little early. So I don't suspect him to be able to do the wetland regulation updates too seriously with Jennifer for a couple months. Although it is a priority, and I would like to do something with them, get them finalized.
Yes.
And we lost Al for minutes. So let's see if he's in attendees.
Approved.
Yeah, I know. So review minutes. Oh, here he is.
I heard that motion.
Yeah. You can't. You're too slow. Motion to approve minutes. Any seconds?
Carol, second.
Gotta go to bed, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Roll call vote.
You're first.
Oh, yeah, I am. Thank you. Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
Spady, aye.
Jennifer, updates.
Yes, I have one. We've been approached by a resident who's interested in working with Wildlands Trust, the town of Easton, and we've actually connected with the town of Mansfield to do a joint conservation project. It's entirely rare species habitat. There's wetland, a stream, lots of upland forest area. It's in the Canoe River area of critical environmental concern. There was a previous forestry plan for the property, so we can continue with active forestry. We had requested the funds for an appraisal from CPC under the administrative funds, but they're not able to meet until mid-June. So I will attend that meeting and see if we can get 5,500 for the eastern portion of the appraisal. Mansfield is, their portion is landlocked, so it's only 2,000 for them, and they've already raised the funds. So it'll be a joint project between the two towns and Wildlands Trust. We will be applying for CPC funding and an MVP grant. The MVP grant would cover 75% of the total cost, so we'd only be asking CPC for 25%. And
Jennifer,
we have a map to show you.
do we have discretionary funds so that we don't have to wait for the CPC to get an appraisal done? Because I think this is just an unbelievable opportunity.
I think we may have that much money, yes. If you vote it and I locate it, then yes, we can spend it. If not, I was looking at Taunton River Watershed Council to see if they were meeting any sooner, then perhaps they would offer a grant, but I bet they're not meeting any
Yeah.
sooner than CPC.
I mean, I'd like to give you every possible opportunity that you can to get this done, because this is all, I think this is all box turtle habitat. I mean, this is an amazing corridor between two towns, and it would just be an awesome thing to add to the conservation land that we have in Easton.
Yes. So there's conservation land down here. This is the eastern portion. It would involve removing the house lot, which would reduce the cost for us and allow the property owner to be able to sell that, potentially with some access, just a trail access, maybe one car parking. The Mansfield property also abuts other Mansfield conservation property. This is town-owned property that could be transferred for conservation purposes. So all of this would create one large wildlife corridor of over 100 acres.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable that that exists.
You just have to look for it.
Yeah.
Yes, and then there's opportunities for, CRs on other adjoining property as well. Also all box turtle habitat, it's also climate resilience, preserving forestry and soils for carbon sequestration. So when you're looking at the not CPC, your new committee for climate action planning, remember about forests and soils and having good places to compost, not just energy.
So do you need I mean, we should probably have some board discussion about this, but I am very much in support of a budget to get an appraisal done so that we can keep the process moving. Ideally, I'd like it to come from CPC, but if we have to use conservation money, I think I'm okay with that. But I'm open to other perspectives here if anybody has input or guidance on this issue.
No, and I think even when we go before CPC, if we say we've already put up 5,500 anyway, I think that goes a long way with CPC because they want to know that we're putting forth funds where we can. So if we have 5,500 available, then I think in the essence of time, we should probably make the effort to put forth that money. I mean, that's my, just from a timing standpoint. So,
Agreed.
From a time perspective, if we need to get that in June as a quick write-up, a 1 page.
It's already in now. It's already in. I was hoping to be at your meeting last week, but it was canceled.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time staying on.
That's all right. I had the same issue a second ago.
Can I back up to the committee, the Climate Action Committee, please?
Well, you're on it
You're
now.
on it.
Okay. Oh, all right. Well, thank you. I already heard from the town commissioner, so if I didn't get it from the commission, then I was going to apply as a private resident. So one way or the other, I was going to try to get on.
Thank you for doing it.
Okay, that should be interesting. Thank you
thank you.
very much.
So I'm sure we have the funding to be able to just approve that and do that on our own. You probably want to vote for that. And that'll help because there's usually another MVP grant round in the fall. So if you get the grant round, the MVP grant round in, usually we hear December, January, then when CPC goes before town meeting, we can say, hey, we got 75% already. And it's usually a slam dunk.
Do you know it's 5,500 or is that just an estimate?
We have the estimate for 5,500 for the appraisal for the eastern portion.
Rory, did I cut you off?
You asked the same exact question I was going to ask.
All right.
You know me, I like to pad these things a little in case so she doesn't have to come back to us.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Maybe we should still call it $6,000. No, kidding. If we have the actual estimate, let's go with it. What are we calling this corridor? Is there an address?
Chestnut Street.
Okay. I guess motion to allocate $5,500 for appraisal efforts at the Chestnut Street proposed conservation land.
Call second.
Carol motion, Caulfield second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Grossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
Spady, aye.
Okay, thank you. There's only one other thing. We were approached by someone who'd like to film a movie at Wheaton Farm, and it's about King Philip's War and shows both the colonial and the Native American side. They're looking for approval to do 2 night shoots in September. There's a little bit of logistical stuff that has to go on. I met with their executive producer, I guess, and we walked out to where they would like to do the shoot. It would involve a little bit of maybe some signage for that weekend with the trails that are on the property, but not too much notification. We don't want too many people who are just curious and attract more people there. They'll have some trailers and food and staging area for the set and the cast. Again, it's only 2 days. It's they will also have an educational event that weekend. And they probably need a little bit of electricity, so I've got to check in with DPW and the water department on their location. But they were, hoping that the commission would approve the filming on conservation property. It's not quite a pilot. It's not the whole movie. It's just showing a few scenes so that they can get funding to do the movie.
I think you had some logistical questions that just needed to be worked out. I personally am in favor of allowing people to use our properties in this capacity as long as there isn't going to be some detrimental impact. And I think the questions that you were asking made a lot of sense around, well, tell me more. Where are you staging? How are you staging? Where are you filming?
Yes.
What do you mean by cleaning some things up?
Yep.
And as long as we have those answered to a reasonable degree of satisfaction, I'm perfectly okay with allowing it. I think the other question was, is there going to be a cost associated with it?
Mm-hmm.
I would be in favor of, it's a public property. People should be allowed to use it within reason.
I like it. And maybe we can get executive producer credits. That'd be good.
And Nathan Crossman specifically gets an executive producer credit, but he has to be wearing a frog costume.
I'll take it. Tadpole. I'm in tadpoles now.
The whole town is in tadpoles now.
Yep.
That was a hit. We have to
Tadpoles.
bring tadpoles everywhere we go.
Anytime you
Everybody loves
need to smooth something over, just bring a whole bucket of tadpoles. I'll be well.
So I anticipate town council would want a access agreement and they'll want to know about the insurance, so I'll follow up with them. But it's good to be able to send her an email, well, not tomorrow, but on Wednesday, letting her know that yes, the commission is in favor of that and there would not be a fee charged for that.
Perfect.
Great, thank you. And that's all I have for updates.
Any item not reasonably anticipated by the chair? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
Caulfield second.
Carol motion, Caulfield second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
Call Phil's eye.
Spady, aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.